Absolute pleasure to help you in any way.
That's great. So what I'm doing, as I mentioned to you earlier before we started, is what I'm doing is something called What Men Really Want. And what it is honest conversations with quality men. So the key word is honest and quality, such as you are.
Thank you.
So what women often ask me, what do I mean by quality men? When I say, okay, I'm going to help you meet quality men, they're just like, well, what do you mean? So what I mean by quality men are basically the men that women like me would want to go out with and possibly have a long-term, or let's say most likely have a long-term committed relationship with. Okay? And what I mean by honest conversations is the things that you don't necessarily tell women to their face, but you probably want them to know, or maybe you would like more women to be aware of it, because then it would help you to meet the right woman. And I think like women are just as confused as men these days. Unfortunately, dating has become more difficult. It's also become more, let's say, more disposable.
Yes.
You know, there's this whole thing with Tinder and the swipe apps, which, you know, I also use. So it is the way people date these days. You can't kind of push it to the side because people are busy and it's a quick, easy way to meet somebody.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, it also makes it seem like there's always somebody else around the corner. Yeah. You know, there's constantly new people coming onto Tinder.
The grass is always greener.
It's like, when do I stop?
Yeah.
So I guess one of the things I'm going to ask you is, how do you know when you're ready to stop? You know, what does she look like? That woman that you would stop at?
Well, I think each person has their own personal.
Yeah.
You know, it's individual as regards to what you find attractive. For me, it's a certain. Obviously, the first physical element is the first thing, obviously, because first impressions count. So I would say that seeing someone that has a certain demure, a certain quality, I'm attracted to a certain type. So that obviously, unfortunately, I think we are in a sort of generation where you've got to tick boxes.
Yeah.
So, and I think that goes for a lot of people. So you have a type. There are people that break the mold. But
in the end, you end up with your type.
You generally, not always, but generally there is a certain type that turns your head.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I have a specific type that I go for. A figure is important to me because I obviously come from a physical background in my career, what I do. So I'm used to that to a certain degree. Face, smile, eyes, really important. How they, their deportment, how they carry themselves, and also the character, the personality. Personally, I'm not attracted to over-exuberant women that are too over the top, too need attention. It's more the person that you're thinking, what is she thinking?
Right.
That pulls you in, that has a certain amount of mystique. Men like to chase.
Right.
You know, if it's already there all in front of you, and I think we're in an age now where it's all out there. The mystique of women has gone.
Right. So I'm so glad you said that.
The ability to be able to, you know, it's there. You know, you have the ladette culture, so you see them doing everything that a man does. So that is not attractive.
Oh, brilliant. I'm going to actually break all of that down.
Yeah.
And ask you more questions. So the first bit I want to ask you, you said it, and actually every man I've interviewed so far has said it. And I want to make it very clear for women, because I don't know if women understand this particular thing. The physical. Now, obviously, we see women who are not necessarily physically very attractive with men, with men all the time. So it's not like it's, obviously, for every man, it's not the case. But the men that I've interviewed, I have found, overall, the physical is important. So I want to ask you about the physical. Can you give me a percentage? And I had some people that were very extreme. Let's say, I know that's the first thing that attracts you. Let's say you meet a woman, who is not, who's physically one type, but personality is amazing. I want to know, what percentage would you say of importance that the physical is? You know what I mean?
Well,
I don't know if I asked
I think I get what you're saying. I think where we may differ with the sexes is that I think that men, it is that physical element that they see first. It really is. And I would say that as much as 80%.
Right, okay, so
I
that's
think
not
it's a
something
high percentage
you
of
can't-
men, the first thing they see, because we are visual,
Right.
we are goal orientated, we're hunters.
Right.
And so that initial target is what we go for, and that is instant. I think it's the same for women. At the same time, there are a lot of major letdowns. There's a lot of major letdowns where you meet someone and you think they're gorgeous, and then they open their mouths and you just think, oh God, no, forget it.
Right.
Because they're not ticking the boxes as regards to how your perception or what you find attractive in personality is all about. And again, that varies from person to person.
Yeah.
But as I said, for myself, I do like a woman that's got a little bit of mystique about them, that's thoughtful, that it isn't all out there, and I find that very attractive, and has a certain sense of sensitivity.
Okay.
With some confidence as well.
Okay, I'm going to ask you more about that, but I first want to get back to the physical.
Yeah.
But what you're saying.
So we're doing physical.
No. What you're saying is that if the physical isn't right, everything else doesn't matter. Is that?
Yeah, to a lot of men, I think that really is the case, and I think they all have.
They have a type.
Their levels.
Everybody has a different type.
And their levels are what they go for, but. Right. It would be much harder.
It's hard to get over that.
It's harder to get over that because you've got to be initially attractive. You want to jump the bone, so to speak. So part of that is that you've got to be initially attracted to that person.
So what does that physical look that you go for, let's say? The ideal sort of look like?
For myself?
Yeah.
I tend to go for more fair looking women that are generally quite fair. Slim, fair skin, blonde, or generally that are of slim build.
Slim, okay.
So I tend to go for very much attracted to that. Pretty faces.
Okay.
Appealing pretty faces. Yeah.
Okay.
Those have been the relationships that I've had in the past.
I wanted to ask that the slim range.
Yeah.
Is because some men said, okay, I want slim but not too skinny. So. Is there a...
There is a fine line, I think, and then there is a fine line, and that is my preference, because I have mates that say to me, Colin, man, you like them skinny,
right?
You even like them skinny, not even skinny, but skinny,
right.
And I said, but that's just what I go for.
So you
and there's a lot of guys that they say, I've got to have a bit of curves,
right?
I like to have some hips and curves and things like that. I don't mind curves, but I'm definitely more of a leaner towards slim women that may have done something physical as well, or if not, then they generally are relatively slim.
Because I want women to be aware of the fact that there is a too skinny.
Yes, there is.
Because it's not, you shouldn't drive yourself to look like a model, because the models are actually too skinny if you see them close
there
up.
are many that are just too skinny.
Yeah,
without doubt.
So
you still need some meat on your bones.
Yeah, so it's more that athletic figure, like you look like you work out and you look after yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
And so then, as far as going like to the fatter area, what's the too fat? Example. Like what's kind of the border of it? I'm just trying to think. Curves. The one.
Here's a classic example. Well, right there you go. Yeah. That would be border for me. Okay. She would be border for me, which is does anyone remember her name? Kate Winslet. Well done. She's got it.
Kate Winslet.
She's great, by the way, behind the camera. Think about say Kim Kardashian, for instance.
Okay, yeah, she's a good example.
Who has a slim top, and then you have this.
Yeah.
And now there's a lot of men that find that absolutely attractive.
Right.
Same with J-Lo.
Yeah.
I'm not attracted so much.
Right.
That doesn't.
Yeah.
That doesn't. It's too much for me.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's a
Kim
personal
Kardashian
thing.
is a great example.
That's
a lot of women.
But there's a lot of men that find her attractive with that excess.
She's actually a great example, because I know women who have gone to plastic surgeons and had silicone put in their butts to have her butt.
Yeah, I'm going to say something now, actually, which I don't find attractive at all, and I see it commonplace all the time now. And it seems to be epidemic, and I get tired of seeing it. Is a woman that's put too much injection
silicone in her lips. Thank you. I'm so glad you said that.
If they look like pout trouts, I don't know. There seems to be a thing where women are being are actually making themselves attractive, not for men, but for other women. It becomes vogue that yes, we all go down and we put these things into our lips in which we pump them up, and it's not attractive. I don't find it attractive.
Now here's the question, because you mentioned the lips, and I actually very curious about the lips.
Yeah,
because I do know a lot of women who
there are a lot of women that do it.
I know actually quite a few.
And I've had to say to some, what, and they don't get it, because I say, I don't. Why are you doing it? I don't. It doesn't make you look attractive.
Yeah.
You can't beat a black dress.
Right.
Slim. You know, you really can't beat that. A nice black dress. You know, you can keep in your bag, put it on, boom, boom, and you look great with some. Being a creative person, if I've seen someone that is a bit trendy and is again found interesting things to put together, I find that also attractive, very attractive in a woman also. But I think that's because of my artistic. But I do find that when I've gone, wow, you've really thought about that. That's very clever. How you've, you know, where have you got your shoes from? Where have you got your, you know, that's very clever. Where your colours, like the way you put your colours together.
And what about like the figure, like showing off the figure, or?
I think that always looks nice without, but again,
without the ladette. And I'm going to ask you to explain ladette for our American audience.
And again, the thing about showing off the figure is how far do you go?
Yes, that's what I want to ask you.
And you know, I've been touring around the country, and you know, a Saturday night, the ladies are out on the town, the men hang out with themselves, the ladies with themselves, and you know, you see, and sometimes it's midwinter, it's freezing cold, and I'm talking about some of the towns that I've been to with the show, and they are literally, you know, the dresses are literally. I mean, you can see you can see the nick of the thong on show. You know, they have skimpy tops. You know, they're wearing heels that are far too high for them, and they can't even walk classically or stylishly in it, and they're just flouncing around, bouncing around, literally.
So you find that cheap.
And there's flesh on display, which to me is not attractive.
Right. So is that?
And like I don't have a problem with flesh on display. It's how much you have it on display, and if you're going to do it, is it tastefully done? Yeah.
So tasteful. So is there an instant turn off, looks wise, that you can tell me? Something that would instantly be like, oh, okay, you know, you won't even bother approaching her.
Obviously, I'm going to go for the person that I'm attracted to. Yeah. So they will probably be slimmer. They would probably have a certain dress or style. Probably an elegance about them.
Right. Okay.
And there would be and also a certain amount of not mystique, but something that makes me want to go across to them.
Okay. Well,
so in other words, I find personally, if the personality is too over the top. If it's too, then for me it's a no. It's too loud, or needing to have that centre of attention, because you know, which, you know, for some that's fine. Yeah. But for me, I don't find that attractive. That's a turn off if it's too over the top. If it's too, and you know, maybe it's. I know that we're merging the sexes together as regards to how people behave and how they carry themselves, and you know, guys have been brawling and fighting and you know, urinating in the streets and doing the whole and throwing up on the sidewalk for kingdom come. But when you see a woman doing that, or just loud or cantankerous, when you see a woman doing that, it's a no-no.
So that's an instant
turn off. It's a no. Oh, there's more. Oh, sorry. There's more. Yeah, but she doesn't. Once she doesn't come away.
Because you're really good.
Dog it. This one. Dog it. Trust me.
Really good.
What women don't realise, it's really hard. And I know that women say that men should. That's part of a man. You know, if you're alpha male, you should just grab her and pick her up, throw over your shoulders and walk out the room with her. But we're in an age where it's a lot harder to do that, because the women are surrounded with their friends. You know, it takes a lot for a man to be able to, and I don't think women appreciate that.
Oh, we totally do.
To have to pluck up the courage, especially when you're attracted to someone, just the same way as you will look at someone in a distance and feel nervous because you're so attracted to them. Yeah. Well, that guy feels the same. The only difference is he's got to go and make the effort, because he knows that she's not going to make the effort. Right. So anything that gives that person the encouragement to say, yes, it's fine, don't be too, no, just body language, contact, helps a hell of a lot.
So eye contact, a
smile, coming around, even, and if you've got the confidence, just to say, just to pluck up courage to say a few words that gets you into a situation where that guy, because it is difficult for a man, and no matter how confident a man is in his normal life, especially when you've got, and generally, let's be honest about it, women are much more likely to be around their friends in a social environment. I mean, they even go to the toilets with their friends. You know, if I went up to my mate and said, let's go to the toilet in a nightclub situation, you'd think I was crazy. But that's what women do. They're with each other all the time. And even the friends, what they'll do is they will ward off men because the friends make the choices as well for those women. You know, I've seen many a woman who's pulled her friend away from a man, and sometimes, what is the reason why that friend's doing it? Maybe she's jealous because that girl's getting attention and she's not.
Right.
But the reality of it is the friends will make just as much an effort so it's a hell of a journey for a man to make that effort to get out there and to have to pluck up the courage to say, I'm attracted to you, with the risk that person's going to is going to blow them away. It's going to blow them off and say, look, not interested or whatever. So it's a big.
So that whole thing of showing you that she's interested is helpful.
If you could make it, I know it's probably just as much nerve-wracking for yourself if you're attracted to somebody.
I know, it's one of the things I teach women. That's why I wanted to see if it's important.
It really is. If there's any way that you can make that to help that man, then that makes it. And I know there's women out there that just go, nope, I expect alpha male, he's got to come over, he's got to have the guts to do it, and blah, blah. But then you're going to miss out on a lot of quality men as well, because a lot of quality men, you know, they're going, and generally the alpha, to be honest with you, the alpha males that are going to go out there and do that are probably players. I know loves me for me, really has my back, and that is a person that I want to spend I would, because I know that is exceptional, especially in this day and age, and it's special. And
so
those
loves
qualities.
You for you. I mean, I want to just repeat that. Loves you for you and has your back.
I mean, and it's genuine about it. It's not, but it's, you know, here's a classic example. There's an old film called, if I can remember the film now, but it stars Robert De Niro, and he has a young tutor that he's tutoring, Bronx Tale it's called, with Robert De Niro, and he has there's a young child, and he's trying to steer that child away from the mob boss, but the child still keeps going. The child is in his teens, so I shouldn't say child, he's in his teens. And anyway, he's American, he's Italian, and he meets this girl on the other side of town who's black, and so she's very different from what he normally goes for. But what is interesting about this story is that he's told that look out for the woman, that when you go and you sit that person down in the passenger seat, when you open the car door and you put that woman in the passenger seat, you close the door and you go round to the other side, if that woman reaches across and loosens the latch for you to get into the car, that is a person that you should marry. And in this film, you see this in slow motion as he takes this, places her down into the seat, closes the door, then he walks around and you see her in slow motion reach across, open the latch for him to open the door, and it's a simple analogy. There's no latches anymore. You just but this was based in the 50s, by the way.
Ruined it for us women now.
This is based in the 50s, by the way, when you needed to open the latch to let the car door to open.
Right.
But my point is that it speaks for itself. I find interesting because when I was writing a story, I had to look into I was doing some writing for a play, and I was looking into the psyche of a woman and how she approaches different things. And you know, I think the major flaw for a lot of women is that they want to see the best in. They think they can get the best out of somebody. They think they can change somebody.
Right.
And I think that a lot of men are set one way.
Right.
They're set in their ways. Okay. And you know, and it's interesting that you find a lot of women that have friends that already know that they're dating an idiot, but won't say anything about it.
Yeah.
Or they'll only say something after she's finished with them and say, "Well, I always knew he was a dickhead. I always knew that he was." Whereas a guy would just say, "Mate, I don't trust her," and it'd be straight about it.
Yeah.
Women, because they know that I think women know that they can go to their best friend and say, look, I was at a club and I saw your husband with another woman. But they know that if they say that to their best friend, their best friend, even if that best friend has just listened to what they've said and got absolutely angry and mad about it and called it a day, they go to the husband and the husband will come up with some lame excuse about how he just happened to be in the club at the time and this person came in and make up, and she'll believe him.
Yeah.
She'll believe him.
Right. So how does a woman...
And it's like, but it's all there in front of you. It's so obvious, but yet she'll believe him and she'll go take back because she wants to see the good in.
Okay, so that's really good. How does a woman know from the beginning, like from the first date, let's say, if this guy is a taker and is not ready for commitment, and he's just, men can say, I mean, I've
a hell of a lot of women
really
are attracted to players.
Right.
They like the bad man. They like the man that is. But then if you're going to go for that, which is fine, but the reality is you're going to have trouble.
Right. But let's say they don't know.
Yourself.
Let's say they don't know he's a player. Because a lot of players, the reason why a lot of players get a lot of women is because they're very clever at saying what women want to hear.
Obvious. I think that women are far harder to understand than men are. Because I don't even think women sometimes know what they want.
Right.
Men are, it's obvious. So it's so obvious with so many men, that have got wandering eye, that think only about their penis and where they can put it. And I think that it's very obvious to many. It's very obvious, and I think that women. The trouble with women that a lot of the times they put themselves in denial.
Yeah.
The signs are there.
So how would you know from the first couple of dates, let's say?
The signs are there normally.
Yes, but what are the signs to know that he's ready for commitment or he's really not, or he's not even interested?
Again, it's hard to define. It's the same as defining, like you've said, the reversal of that for a man with the qualities of a woman that he's looking for. You've just got to look beyond the actions, and you've just got to look at the little things that the person that you're with does.
Can you give me an example of
and you start to know if they are a caring, sharing, giving, selfless person, as opposed to an egotistical person that it's all about themselves. We are hunters. We go and we get what we need to get. That is what we've been brought up to do. Okay. And I'm not trying to separate the sexes.
No, that's good, because I want to ask you about that.
So if a man doesn't call back after a length of time, it's obvious. Or if he calls back after 3 or 4 days, and it's there's a man that's keen. A man's keen because he really is attracted to that person, and he wants them. If he's kind of got other things, he's undecided, then you're in for a long haul, and because he's not really. And I think that men make up their minds far quicker than women do, as regards to. We're very good at being able to compartmentalize. We're very, very good at being able to go, that's for sex. Right. That's for having children. Right. That's what I want for children. Or that is the whole package. It's everything. So that's sex, what I want. Children, and everything else. And if once you know you found it, you're on that phone the next day. You're texting the next day. How are you? How have you been? You're texting. You want the date. You want another date. Right. So that's what I want to get, because I mean I do have clients who say, I thought it was a great date, but then he didn't call me for a while, or he texted me good night that same night, but then after then he barely texted the rest of the week, stuff like that, where it's kind of, is that just because there are too many options, or is it I mean, the excuse they would say, he's really busy in his career. There are some things going on. I think, is that a valid excuse? I don't think. Well, yes. I mean, again, it's very difficult to, depending on what job that guy's got, or where he is, and maybe he's snowed under. But you make time if you really, really like somebody. You make time. So is it just that you find time, no matter how busy you are, how you know if that person is special, you will find time for that person. Okay, so it could be just the woman just didn't make an impression. Yes. So she has if they've been lazy getting back about that woman, then it may just be a plaything that they're seeing that woman as, but it's not. I don't see it as a relationship. That's what I want to know is this whole thing about some men will literally write you all the time, be chasing you all the time, and I find with that those are usually men that
I have one particular client who she was clearly better than the particular man who was constantly writing her, constantly chasing. So he was so enamored with her, but that's because she was. I mean, I was like, you are clearly, without a doubt, like 2 steps higher than him. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
She was a stretch for him. Do you know what I mean? But because he was constantly there after her, you know. And then that same client, who's beautiful, by the way, super attractive and successful, met a man who was exactly her list, let's say. But then that guy, for example, always seemed to be, you know, traveling for business. He owned his own business and was doing really, really well. Like, he was exactly what was on her list. So he was always, you know, either traveling for business or, oh my goodness, there's this huge project, or we've got this court lawsuit on that we have to fight. There was always something, you know, that was sort of like he'd see her maybe once a week maximum. Do you know what I mean? And so, like, you know, that's the question of, so that, you know, the man who's clearly has his choice, you know, he was probably better than her. If you take the totem pole, or, you know, I think she would have been perfect for him personally, in my opinion. But you know, she would have been a great wife for him. But he was clearly more distant, whereas the other guy was chasing. And I wouldn't.
Okay, but can I ask you a question then? What did she do herself? What is she very successful and busy herself?
Not as successful as he is.
Right, because I think that guys that are successful
does well, but not
guys that are successful. I think they are probably threatened by another woman that is overly successful.
Oh, really?
Okay. And is doing a lot and doing sometimes too much. And because the first thing a guy that wants to settle down and have children is that, is she going to have time for that? Is she preoccupied? And generally, if you are successful, there's a certain amount of selfishness that you have to have. And so that isn't conducive for being someone that's going to settle down and have children, because you're preoccupied with making it out there to be successful out there. And so, you know, I've had dates with women that I've thought were beautiful and successful, but I've realized from the first date that it's not going to go anywhere, because she's almost like a man. Her thoughts are about competition at work, about being successful, about making it, and her mind's on that. And I'm thinking, well, you're not going to be around and actually that woman is looking, and though that woman is looking for a successful man herself, she's actually only going to get probably I'm not going to say a lapdog, but a much more sheepish type of man who probably is, you know. And then the problem with that for that woman is that if she goes with that type of man, she's not going to he's never be good enough for her. Exactly, and she'll never feel complete. But at the same time, maybe that man is the best man for her, because he's going to do everything that she wants, everything that she needs, and he's not going to be any trouble. A man that is successful has options, choices. In every department, from women, from work, from pleasure, from every aspect, he has other choices. And that's what you're competing with. But you make time. You make time. That's what I think. I remember speaking to someone in exactly the same situation when I was in the show, and this friend of mine was with a boyfriend, and she was saying the same thing. I don't see him that often. He's doing this, and this. And I said, well, you're not being treated. You're not being given the value that you are. You're not being treated. You've got to value yourself, and therefore, if you're being treated like this, surely that says that he's not 100% into the relationship. And she said, well, I'll wait and see what he does. Why do women wait to see what he does? You know? And so the point is that eventually it was over. One day she came in and she was crying. I said, it's over. He finished with her. But I said, but you see, to everybody else it was obvious, because actions speak louder than words. But you held on, you kept trying to, and you've wasted 2 years of the same thing. You held on, you carried on when it was obvious, but you allowed him to make the choices. Why didn't you say, right, I'm not going to put up with this. I have self-worth here. This is not going to, because that's what I said to her. You shouldn't be putting up with that. You know, you're not happy. You're not feeling fulfilled. So, you know, you need to take control of the situation. And unfortunately she didn't, and then he dumped her because it was obvious. And then she was the one that had to pick up the pieces and carry on. And it was just like, empower yourself, you know.
That last thing, just to finish off, is there any kind of first date, second date, early on, last two things actually, conversations.
There is more. With Judah, there's more.
Are there any first, initial beginning conversations that are totally off limits?
I think it should be kept on a nice, even level so that you can just enjoy each other's company and have fun and talk about many things. If it gets too deep, same with they talk about politics and religion or anything, if it gets too, then I don't think it's a good idea. Yes, of course you need to know you're thinking the same way. And exes, or I think that's a very delicate subject. I don't have too much of a problem with it, but I think that a lot of people can have a lot of problems with it. So I think that talking about too in-depthly about exes can divulge a lot, that if you're coming out of it on the rebound or you're bitter, it can bring up things in which may put the other person off because you're suddenly going, whoa, you're seeing another side to them, and because sometimes that relationship has brought that out in that person. So I think you just have to be, I'm not saying you can't talk about, because a person will say, so why are you single? What was your last relationship like? That's fine, but just keep it, just the basics, so that he's got a clear idea and move on. I wouldn't get too heavily into it.
Okay, and then the last kind of one of the things I want to finish off is the intimacy bit of it, which is like how soon is too soon and how soon is too long to wait. Is there
I personally think that if there's an attraction and it feels right, you just have to go with how you feel. Okay. It really, I don't think to myself, because how do you judge the attraction between two people and the chemistry? And if the chemistry is there and you're both willing adults, personally, I don't kind of look and say, right, that's a blot in your copybook because we happen to sleep together. If it's right, then it's right. That's it. But I may be different in the way that I think, but just as much as you can wait 6 months, and that's fine as well, because you will wait for 6 months. If that person is that important to you, you will wait for as long as it takes. If you feel that person is a life changer, and that you will wait. So I think it's just when you both feel comfortable with each other that it's right, and I think that's just normal. That's for me. Maybe other guys think differently, but I don't really sort of judge a woman on a length of time that we've got together.
Thank you so much, Colin. I have really exhausted you a lot.
She's draining. Watch out when you have a session with her.